friends, welcome back to Liz's Reading Corner, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Liz and I like books, and this is day 3 of Bookmas. I was not prepared. One day I'll get good at actually making these videos and being organized for these videos, but today is not that day. So I'll quickly go through the prompts and then we'll spin the wheel and then we'll find out what we're going to read. So my prompt is winter mystery or thriller, and I chose Poppy's Christmas Cracker. And ChatGPT's prompt is a ghost story set on Christmas Eve, and it chose The Haunting of Blackwood House by Darcy. So we will spin the wheel and we will see what we're going to read. We are reading The Haunting of Blackwood House by Darcy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really quite excited to read this. I had a quick look at the synopsis and it looks amazing. It's like haunted house. It's one of my favorite movies is House on Haunted Hill, so we'll see how this book goes. Hopefully it lives up to the hype. It seems like it has a really good rating on Goodreads, so I'll be back with you soon. Okay, we are day 3 and I've already forgotten. I swear I'm onto this. I swear. Blackwood Manor. The Haunting of Blackwood Manor. I am 40. I can't see without my glasses. Camera's going everywhere. Chaos, I'm telling you. 48% of the way through, so I'm almost halfway through. And so far, it's giving me a steady 3. I'm going to say about a 3-star. It's not poorly written, which is something, unlike the last 2 books, but it's not grabbing me, if that makes sense. We are following Mara, who is an independent woman who survived a really crappy childhood. Her parents were deep into, like, not the occult, but like ghosts and seances and contacting the dead and speaking to the dead and that sort of thing. And so they tried to convince her that she had the power to contact the dead, and that she is like quite powerful, and she just wants nothing to do with it, and she doesn't believe that ghosts are real. And she discovered like quite early on that people were that were running the seances were just tricking and like bullshitting and that sort of thing. So she spent most of her adult life trying to get away from that, and then she ends up buying a house really, really cheap that a serial killer owned, and everyone who has lived there has believed that the house is haunted. And the tenants who lived there previously, like 20 years prior, just up and left, and that includes their food on the table. Like, the table is still set, and craziness. So yeah, and her boyfriend, who is like a super, super, super nice guy, her boyfriend is trying to help her through like navigating her first couple of weeks in the house and like fix up this house because it's really run down because no one's lived in it for 20 years. And he has just discovered that her great grandfather, who was like really, really famous in like the seance circle and like contacting the ghosts and that sort of thing circle, built the house and got killed by the serial killer who owned it afterwards. So that's where we're at. Like I said, it's probably only going to be a 3. It's still better than the previous 2 books, but we'll see how this goes. It's not terrible, at least, so that's something. Hello. I read that in a day. I read that in less than a day. I read that in a few hours. Oh my god. The Haunting of Blackwood House. Amazing. I finally, third time's a charm, finally found a book that I enjoyed. I really, really liked this book. So we follow Mara. Mara is coming from like a really dysfunctional background. She was born into this family who believes in like the supernatural and like seances and contacting the dead, and that the dead are still there in ghost form. So they basically like the stereotypical ghost thing where they either have like unfinished business or like they've imprinted on wherever it is that they died and they just need help leaving. And so Mara saves and saves and saves. She lives in like this really horrible derelict place where it's not really great. She has this boyfriend Neil who seems to be like the perfect person, and she saves up this money and she buys this house. This house has been on the market for 20 years. This house is Blackwood house, and no one has wanted to touch it because it was the house of a serial killer. And what the realtor doesn't actually mention is the fact that it wasn't just the home of a serial killer, but it's also the home of a lot of people who have died in very unfortunate circumstances in the house. And so no one wants it. It's just this horrible place. It's got this horrible history. People who live there tend to die. And there's only one family that ever got out whole, and that was because they left after 2 weeks. They just left. Didn't even stop to pick up their father grabbed like a handful of laundry and left. And so Mara finds out that her great-great-grandfather, I think it was, built the house. And the story goes that he was killed by this serial killer who then lured children under the age of 15 into his house and killed, I think he killed like 5 of them. He had 6 victims, but the last one got away, and then he ends up hanging himself and haunting this house. And then everyone who moves in afterwards is haunted by his spirit, and he manages to just kill them in some way. Like they all end up dying. A lot of them end up dying, not all of them, but a majority of them end up dying. The Axeman is coming. I loved it. It reminded me a lot of like Amityville Horror, that sort of thing. I'm a really big horror movie fan, so this was right up my alley. It reminded me very much of just like an old school haunted house horror movie. And I didn't realize that that was what I needed until I read it, and I needed it. Mara is extremely stubborn. Neil wants her to leave once he finds out about this horrible history of this house. She won't leave. She's also really stubborn, and she doesn't like help or handouts as she sees them, and that really, really frustrates me. Her character is a little bit frustrating. Is the biggest reason why, well, there's 2 reasons why I didn't give this 5 stars. So I gave this 4 stars. The 2 reasons I didn't give it 5 stars are that Mara's character is insufferable. She irritates the crap out of me. Her inability to accept help in any shape or form, or any kind of a handout, is really, really frustrating. And Neil is literally there as like a supporting character. He is so bland, it's disappointing. So I feel like he could have had like a lot more pushback. He just didn't feel like a real person. Like, I know that if any of the people that I know had been treated the way that Mara treats Neil, they wouldn't have reacted the way that he did. So that was a little bit irritating, but otherwise phenomenal. I enjoyed this book so much, and like I said, I gave it 4 stars. I understand the hype on this one. I can't wait to read more of Darcy Coates' books, if they're anything like this one. So I was in the middle of like this jump scare sort of scene, and it was all dark except my lamp in my room, and so I'm like in the middle of this jump scare, and my husband moved because he's out gaming. He moved and scared the crap out of me. That's how good this book was. I needed this. I've needed a book this scary for quite a while. And it's not that it's even like specifically scary, it's just like the suspense in the book is there, and it is very, very, very well done. So yeah, I absolutely loved this book. Reading more Darcy Coates books for sure, and I can't wait. So we finally had a win. We finally had a good book. Not 5 stars, But 4 stars is, I'm happy with 4 stars. I'm really excited that we finally got a good book. I was really starting to get worried there that we were just going to have all duds. So that's really exciting. Have you read this book? If you have, I would love to know your thoughts. What would you have chosen for the prompts instead of the books that we chose, or that I chose and ChatGPT chose? If you like what I do here, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for Bookmas Day 4. Bye.